Good day, ladies. My name is Torrey Hardy, and I've been at church at Grace Bible for 26 years, and I'm excited to have this conversation with two wonderful women whom I love.
And I'm Bonnie Finswaite, and I've only been in Grace Bible Church for 2.5 years.
And I'm Suzanne Kozich. I've been at Grace for about 5 years now. And yeah, same thing. Excited for this opportunity to share with you guys and hopefully encourage you.
So we all became acquainted together at the Rockland Community Group. And one of the ways that we've really gotten to know each other is through prayer times. And once a month at our community group, we separate men and women, and even smaller groups than that, sometimes 2 or 3, sometimes up to 5. We get in groups and we pray for each other. We share struggles, sins, joys, and prayer requests, and we spend time praying for each other. So this week, as we're doing the prayer study on drawing near to the throne of grace, we wanted to share some things about that with you. So we'll just have a conversation and you can listen in with us. So first question, I just thought to Bonnie and then Suzanne after is, tell us what drew you to the throne of grace.
What drew me to the throne of grace actually was the death of our daughter a year and a half ago. After a surgery at Stanford Hospital that was very successful, but ended up with a lot of complications. And she was my best friend, and we had a wonderful relationship together. And so when she died, I knew she was walking into heaven, into the arms of Jesus. And that is what drew me to the throne of grace, because knowing that she was there and that I would see her again really made a difference as to how I could walk through the grief of not having her with me. It was a time of great prayer and discussion with the Lord about how I was going to go on without having her near me. And he did answer those prayers that I had with him, sometimes in my back garden, sometimes crying out and saying why. But the essence of it was for me that he filled me with a love of him and of the people who were so wonderful in walking with me through it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So how would you say you really experienced or received grace and mercy while you were sitting at the throne with Christ?
It was a wonderful experience because there was a peace that came for me through the months that I was grieving for her, but also I found that lamenting to the Lord gave me an even deeper peace to know that he was walking with me. So his being at the throne of grace with him was like being his child, sitting on his lap, being his daughter, and having him hold me and give me the peace that I needed to walk through those days.
Yeah. So before we move on and talk to Suzanne, I was going to have her read the passages from this week's study. So she's going to read Hebrews 4, verses 4 through 16, and then part of the next one, which is Hebrews chapter 5, verse 8.
So 4:14 through 16. Since then, we have a great high priest who has passed through the heavens, Jesus the Son of God. Let us hold fast our confession. For we do not have a high priest who cannot sympathize with our weaknesses, but one who has been tempted in all things as we are, yet without sin. Let us therefore draw near with confidence to the throne of grace, that we may receive mercy and may find grace to help in time of need. And 5:8 reads, although he was a son, he learned obedience from the things which he suffered.
So Suzanne, what brought you to drawing near to the throne of grace, and how did you kind of experience and know God's mercy?
Yeah, so kind of along the same time that Bonnie was dealing with a lot of loss in her life, I was also dealing with a lot of loss in my life. I ended up losing my grandparents within 6 months of each other, 3 of them, and Dawn and Bonnie, who are in our community group, are our pseudo grandparents. And so we've just been so blessed to have them as these older, wiser believers in our group. And that's one of the things we love. They always ask, why do you guys like us? Why do you want us in your community group? And man, just to have their wisdom, their gentleness, and all the things that they've learned through their lives with Christ has been a huge blessing to us. And then to have kind of like a fill-in grandma and grandpa after losing mine so quickly. But that was also just a really difficult time, grieving many losses in our lives for my husband and I. And so to have the ladies of our community group to shoulder those burdens with us, but then to also just have that added bonus of having somebody to come in and kind of fill that hole in that relationship was just a really beautiful thing in the last couple of years that we've been able to experience together.
Yeah. I've been kind of sitting next to them and with them in it, so it's been a different experience for me, and joyful and really sweet in some ways to walk into sorrow with them and into suffering just next door to them and with them, and have been blessed and learned so much about learning obedience, which it says in there. And I think, it's choosing to remind yourself of what is true about God, and choosing to remind yourself that I need to do the next right thing, and acting in obedience, but also the joy of being able to put words to prayer out loud that sometimes you can't when you're so heavy in heart and soul and mind, and in some ways just comforting. The only way that I know, when you have none of your own words to offer that you know won't make the pain go away, but to be able to sit beside them and with them together physically, but also separately, apart, and just to be able to raise them up and stand before my God and my Father and hold them up in that one way that I can, other than, bringing food. So how did you guys experience, or how was it different being before the Lord in prayer with sisters as opposed to alone? Because I know both of those are valuable, but how was it specifically unique when you were just sitting in prayer with us together, or knowing that you were being upheld in prayer?
Who are you asking that of? Either one?
Yes.
I often think I think it was Aaron and Moses. But when he grows weary and basically is like, you have to hold up your arms. Otherwise, something bad's happening. So these two people come alongside and they hold up his arms. And I often felt in community that when I was growing weary in my prayers and weary and crying out to God, that it was helpful to have my two sisters holding up my arms on either side to say, we're going to take this with you and for you and alongside you. And it helps you not feel so isolated. Right. Sometimes it feels like, okay, God, are you actually listening? But to have others alongside you in that journey is comforting. And it also just helps give words when you feel like there are none left. You've cried out every possible thing that you could think of. And then to hear the prayers out loud of other saints is really comforting to my soul.
Yeah. What about for you?
I think just the blessing of having a dear sister experiencing that loss with me at the same time, and on the understanding that comes from that. I really believe the Lord put this wonderful lady in my life to do that. And so she's my granddaughter, as you are my daughter. And so for that reason, there was a joy in having the experience of somebody understanding what God could put into my heart, what God was going to have me walk through at the same time. And there's nothing like that.
Right.
Being both Christians and being sisters together in the Lord, there's an understanding and a deepness there that probably couldn't have happened elsewhere.
Right. Almost like you don't need words to understand. you can just look at each other and you know what you're feeling.
Right.
And that's so lovely to be able to express without words together sometimes. Yeah. I love where it says the Spirit intercedes in groaning, when we all only have groanings. We don't have words, but the Spirit intercedes for us. And that's what a lot of this has been, really, is interceding except for each other when our own words fall flat and don't feel like we can go anywhere else. So any last thoughts about kind of drawing near to God, either in suffering or in trial or difficulty, and how or why, or any words of wisdom that you'd like to let people share with?
I think it's very important when you're going to the throne of grace to be honest with the Lord about where you are and to express those things and not back away from them so that you don't bury it. And having women to walk alongside of you, I would want to seek that out if I needed that again. And I know where I can go, which is so beautiful.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. Something I've been just thinking through even recently is when you're in the midst of a difficult situation, you have two choices, right? You can either run towards God or run away from God. And just what I've found is it makes it a lot harder when you run away.
Yes.
And so part of running towards God is seeking out community, seeking out support, people who are going to hold you accountable as well, to say, hey, do not run away. Keep leaning into this. Keep being present and being supportive to one another so that we can get through these things well on the other side. Still, I think through Job, right, is these friends who are just, they're not good friends. They really don't point Job to the Lord. They keep saying, well, it's your fault. What have you done? Look inside of yourself. Look inside of yourself. But to have sisters who are saying, no, look to God. Continue to look to God. Don't look inside of yourself. The answers are not there. The answers are here. And when you run towards God, is just, something that I've been thinking through lately as I process the losses and griefs.
Yeah. Well, thank you, ladies, for sharing, and we trust you'll have a great study.